Boom, we are back with another edition of the Quarantinecast. I'm really excited for this one. I'm going to be speaking with Nico Echeverry. I think I'm pronouncing that name right. I'm probably butchering it. I see him smiling in the waiting room, so I definitely butchered it. But I'm really excited for this one. He's got a big title fight coming up. So without further ado, I'm going to bring him on. I butchered that, didn't I?
No, dude, you actually did really, really well. That was really good. I would say not Esh, it's Etch, like Etch-a-Sketch.
Okay, perfect. All right, man. So how you doing?
Oh man, things are good. Things are really, really good. I'm really looking forward to this fight. I'm really looking forward to this interview. It's got me kind of excited.
Yeah, you're a little over a month out. I mean, the long layoff with the pandemic and everything. So how have you been doing throughout the pandemic, and how's the family?
Everything's actually been going really well through the pandemic. Right whenever it hit, our gym was right on top of things. We made sure we converted a lot of our classes to Zoom, and I was still exercising. I was still training, doing my own training in that time, and we started to slowly implement more classes as time went on, and as the policies kind of told us what we could and could not do, and eventually we got back to training, with person-to-person training, pretty sooner than I thought, and I feel like I haven't missed a step. I feel like I haven't really taken any time off.
It's crazy. I mean, Max Holloway took a title fight with just Zoom training. So obviously it's effective, I guess. How hard was it to adapt to that?
Well, I was leading most of the Zoom classes, so I was participating in them, but I'll say it's kind of hard because without having a partner, that's a big thing, because you don't have a body to help you do the techniques with you. Because it's basically kind of how in karate you're doing katas most of the time. So I'm not saying it's not realistic, but it's definitely something different. I had to get used to it. I had to push myself more because you don't have a coach there or another person there to push you, because that's something that you have to kind of find yourself. You have to find that discipline, which is something that I've had to do throughout this whole pandemic. Just finding the discipline to sit down and train and to push myself just throughout the whole thing.
You had a very busy 2019. Was it 5 fights you had in 2019? Not including the ones, the pullouts and the cancellations and all that. It was 5, wasn't it?
I believe it was 4. It was 4 fights. Yeah, it was 4 fights in 2019.
So how crazy was it to coming into 2020? You had some momentum, staying busy. Now you're on a 10-month layoff. How different is it?
Oh man, it felt weird. The thing is, whenever 2020 rolled around, my coach Drew Tychek and I, we decided that 2020 to 2022 would be a season. We would be fighting, possibly, if we could, every 2 to 3 months, and we would try to get 10, maybe even 12 fights within that time period. Maybe even go UFC, or heck, win a few titles. Who knows? But with the whole pandemic, there's the monkey wrench, and then boom, threw the wrench in all the gears. But with that time, because I had a really busy 2019, I had a lot of lingering injuries.
Yeah.
And it gave me, even though I did have that fight in February, between February and now, I've had a lot of time to recover and to kind of just give me some breathing room, which is something that I definitely appreciate having. I look back on like, okay, yeah, I definitely needed that. But now that it's getting back into the fight game in December, I've been more than eager to do that. I've been looking forward to it just ever since I saw the UFC doing fights on, Fight Island in Vegas. I'm just like, okay, I need to get back into it. I need to get back to doing what I love.
Yeah, this is definitely I guess the best year for people outside the UFC and Bellator, because people are getting calls on last minute notice. Guys with like 5-3 records, doesn't even have to be the best of records.
Yeah.
People who are competing in like Alaska FC and all these other not really well-known organizations. So I think now is the great time. Do you think that this title fight is really like, if you win a title, you could be on the doorstep of a UFC and a Bellator?
Yeah. I mean, I can see it as that. Yeah. I would really like it, to be honest. I mean, with the UFC, it's good name recognition. The pay will be better, so that way I can focus solely on just training. I don't have to worry about, okay, so how are my finances this month? Okay, I can pay for rent. Will I be able to pay for all this other stuff though? So that's gonna be something that I would definitely really like. But if the title fight leads to that, then I will be more than happy to take that. But if not, then it's just, all I know is that it's going to lead to just more fights down the line, and even that is just going to be something that I'm going to definitely be happy with.
Do you feel a little extra pressure knowing that there's a belt at stake?
I mean, I will say there is pressure, of course. I would say the pressure isn't from anybody else but myself, because it's the fact that, okay, it's a 5-round fight, it's co-main event, and the guy I'm fighting against is definitely no slouch. I've been looking up a lot of not a lot of footage, but I've looked him up on SureDog, on Tapology, and everything. Looked up his record, and with him being a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but he's got like tons of knockouts from what I've seen, and that's something that I take into account, and there is a lot of pressure. But regardless of that, I tend to do very well under that pressure. It makes me work harder, I perform better, and I just have it makes the fight that much more fun for me whenever I have that little bit of pressure on me, because that way I work, like I said, I work harder, and I just have a lot more fun.
Do you are you someone who likes to watch film and try to dissect your opponent, or are you someone who kind of tends to just focus on your own game plan? I mean, I hear guys like Chael Sonnen said they never watched film in their entire careers, which to me is crazy. If someone's telling me I'm fighting someone, I am going to know everything about them.
Yeah.
So what do you like? Do you like to watch film or not?
I would say that I do watch film, but I try not to watch too much, because the thing is that it's kind of the way I look at it is, if I watch too much film, then I learn to respect them in a way. I'm not saying, oh yeah, I don't respect them as a fighter. I respect everybody that I go against. I respect them as a fighter. But what I mean is, I don't want to fear what they can do. Like, if I see someone that has a really good ground game, I don't want to be like, well, I can't go to the ground with him because he's gonna tool me that way. Or, oh, he has a really good left hook. I have to be aware of the left hook. I can't move to his left. No, the thing is that I can't. If I respect what they do too much, then I'm not gonna be able to implement my own game plan, because I focus on theirs. So what I have to do is, I'm aware of the things that they like, but what the main thing is, I just want to make sure they don't do it. I mean, that's what any person's game plan is. Make sure that they can't do what they like best.
Yeah, you've had another chance at this title a little while ago, and it didn't go your way. What is the biggest lesson you learned from that fight?
Keep your left hand up whenever they like to throw the right hand. That would be the biggest lesson. But I would say that my biggest lesson is, man, don't make sure that the ref knows what he's doing. I would say that's a big one. I will be honest, that fight did leave a sore spot with me, but I do have it also left me with a lot of it made me realize how many people support me and how many people love me, and that left me with that, even though I might not have a title, I do have a lot of people that love and care about me. So that's something that I learned, and I take with me now wherever I go. So that's something that kind of reinforced with me.
Yeah, I think that's key to so many guys. I mean, you hear about people like losing a fight and then their camp like turns on them or loses, and I think it's really important to have a strong camp. Speaking on your camp, a lot of people tend to go to a bigger team or move to an ATT or one of these other large gyms. You stay committed. What's the reason to being loyal to that gym? And have you thought of maybe going to a bigger gym?
I have thought about going to possibly going out to ATT or AKA anywhere really, but my main thing with staying at ACS MMA is first thing, it's a lot of money to go out, and I don't make a lot of money being a local fighter. That's one thing, especially during this whole quarantine and pandemic. It's like you can't make a lot of money with it. And number two, Drew is one of those guys, one of those coaches that he's never stopped learning. He's never set in his ways. He's constantly learning. He's constantly learning new techniques, learning new methods of doing different moves, and he's just learning new game plans. He's also learning different ways of cutting, dieting. He's a student of all of MMA, whether it comes to the fighting or the fight prep. And the guy, I've been training with him ever since I started training. I've been with him for more than 10 years now. And he knows my game more than anybody else. He knows exactly how I fight. He knows exactly how to talk to me. And he knows exactly how to, pull back and to encourage, or not discourage, but to tell me, hey, or to critique. He knows how to critique me correctly. So it's just that it's a lot to do with him, but it's also to do with, I have a lot of good training partners here that don't just, whenever I spar with them, they don't just stick with what they do best. They start to use the things that my opponent uses. So like they either start to do lots of wrestling, or they start to do lots of, just lots of striking. It depending on who my opponent is. So I have, like I said, it's like I said from your previous question about how I have this great support system. It's all comes back to that same great support system that I have here at ACS with the coaches and my teammates that has kept me here for so long.
Yeah, you hear about it so many times of guys moving away and whatnot. You said you've been there your entire career. What was it that ultimately led you to this crazy sport we called mixed martial arts, but to a lot of people it's fighting?
Yeah, man. My first exposure was whenever I watched, it was like 2007, 2008, and I watched a rerun of Anderson Silva knocking out Chris Lieben in his first ever fight in like 38 seconds. I was like, whoa! It just blew me away. And after that, I became like, I was a casual fan of the sport. But I always watched Anderson Silva fight because he was like the first guy I watched. And I was like, he's pretty awesome. Then in 2010, I get a phone call. Oh, not phone call. I get a message from a buddy of mine saying, "Hey, Nico, come to my gym, and you should totally come train." I'm just like, "All right, yeah, you're right." And at the time, I was going through a really tough breakup, and I needed something of an outlet. And I was, like I said, I was already a fan, so I started doing that, and it became not. Most people, some people like kind of see MMA or any sort of combat sport as a way to just get your anger out. But I see it as a way to control it. Because whenever you're training, if you train angry, then you tend to either hurt yourself or you hurt your teammates. And if you hurt yourself, you can't train anymore. If you hurt your teammates, then they don't want to train with you. So either way, you're not training. So it helped me learn to just take the anger and not just push it down, but to focus on my training for just 2 hours. And then after I leave, then I can, then the anger might come back, or I'll feel probably better, honestly. But for 2 hours, I'm in the there and then. I'm right there in the here and now of training. Because like I said, if I focus on anything else, something bad might happen. So that's what drew me into, that's what got me into it. And that's what kept me there for so long. And then eventually it just became the friends I made and all the experiences I've had. And just, it really is my entire life now. So that's what's kept me here.
You mentioned Anderson Silva, and obviously, he lost a couple of weeks ago, and that could be the end of it for him. And I'm honestly hope he's done too, personally. But that being said, who do you have as the greatest of all time? Obviously, I'm Canadian. If you can't tell from the accent, I'm Canadian. And so I tend to lean towards GSP, but no bias there at all, none whatsoever. But but who do you have as the greatest of all time?
Oh God, I can give favorites, but if it's to the GOAT, I'll honestly have to side with you with GSP. Just like I'm not trying to pander to my interviewer. I swear, but but no, it's just the fact that number one, the guy was just so dominant as a champion. Let's kind of put the Johnny Hendricks fight to the side. Let's look at his entire career as a whole. So as a whole, he had 2 losses. He lost to Matt Serra and Matt Hughes. Both fights, he came back and he demolished both of them. And every single other person he's fought, he has beaten quite handedly. Aside from, like I said, Johnny Hendricks, and you could possibly argue Michael Bisping Michael Bisping in his last fight. But throughout all of his career, he's gotten better. He's changed his style from being just a wrestler to a guy that became a really good boxer. he has just been just completely just decimating everybody. And I see him as probably the greatest of all time for that reason. And also just the fact that he's just a very chill and down to earth kind of guy. Like from all the interviews that I've seen, he seems to be just genuinely nice, and he genuinely loves training and martial arts. So yeah, I give that to GSP all day.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the same boat. I mean, Khabib for me is also equal in terms of dominance, but I just don't think his legacy, I guess. He doesn't have as many defenses. He hasn't beaten the same caliber opponents. The list goes on and on. But I mean, when you go 29-0 without losing a round,
Oh man,
it's yeah. So I mean, there's so many great guys there, and
yeah.
I have George because of, like you said, his character and whatnot. But John Jones, Mighty Mouse, et cetera, man. It's crazy to see that. That being said, which fighter, whether it's current or former, do you think that you've either emulated in your game or someone that you've idolized to the extent that you can compare yourself to them?
I would like to compare myself to Khabib because a lot of my fighting, the way that I started fighting was like him. He was a wrestler, and I'll say this right now. Most people have asked me, Nico, have you probably wrestled in high school or college? No, I haven't. I didn't wrestle a day in my life until I started training, and I just kind of I latched on to wrestling. And the whole grinding mentality of wrestling, I love it because you take a person down and you keep them down no matter how hard they get up, and you just hit them in the head until they say stop, 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 stop. Which is something that I really like because it's all about control, and I love that. But lately, I feel I've been trying to not grow away from that, but I'm trying to expand my game more. So I would say that grappling wise, definitely, I would say I feel like Khabib in a way, but overall, I honestly would rather be more compared to GSP at one point or another because I feel like I'm constantly adding more to my skill set as I go on, because I'm not just a grappler anymore. I'm not just a guy who's won by submissions. I'm a guy who strikes now. I've won by knockout. Yeah, I do grapple, but at the same time, you can't just be afraid of, okay, I can't just go to the ground with him. Okay, now I have to be aware of the things that he can do while he's standing. So that's who I would say I'd be compared to.
I want to ask you one last one, and then I'll let you go.
Sure, man.
For people who haven't seen you fight, maybe they aren't familiar with you or haven't watched any of your performances there at Fury FC, what can you say about your fighting style, and I guess what can they expect on December 12th?
For my fighting style, it's going to be it's going to be a fun time. There's going to be striking, there will be grappling, and there will more than likely be a little bit of blood. Regardless, I'll say that. I don't want to give away too much stuff, but if people have seen film on me, they know that I have the hands, I have the legs, I have the knees, and I have the grappling chops for it. So it doesn't matter where the fight will go, it's going to be fireworks. And as far as December 12th comes along, I am really looking forward to fighting Mr. I believe it's Freitas. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he's not in the broadcast room, is he?
Yeah, no, he's next actually.
Oh God!
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. No, but but regardless of how the fight goes, it's going to be a lot of fun. The guy's a black belt. He's got some good hands. So I think it's going to lead to a really good fight, whether it goes to the ground or whether it stays standing, because I think that the fight, it's not going to, I don't think it's going to I don't think it's going to go to the fifth round. I think it's going to end by a finish. For me, I think it's probably going to be a KO, and that's what I'm hoping for.
All right, man. I appreciate you taking the time. You're a little over a month out, so all the best, man. Stay safe. Don't catch anything. And man, I can't wait to watch you fight.
Yeah, that's it. Appreciate it, Sergio. Looking forward to talking to you again soon, man.
Yeah, we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, please.
All right, man. All the best.
Will do.
All right, there you have it. Nico Echeverry, like Etch-a-Sketch, like he said. Man, I can't wait for his fight, December 12th. If you haven't yet, make sure you donate to prostate cancer. That's why I'm growing this whole thing out. And I will see you guys next time.